It's Children's Mental Health Week, and we're exploring the power of paying attention to what's going on inside, discovering clues from our thoughts, our feelings, and our bodies. Hello, I'm Kathryn Lovewell, author of The Inner Detective Journal, a gentle guide to help young children make sense of their inner world, especially when life feels difficult. We are shining a light on the importance of children's mental health, so every child has the opportunity to learn skills to respond to themselves kindly when things go wrong, which they inevitably will. So let's hear from one of our special guests now. Welcome, everyone. Today's special guest is an educator, behaviour specialist, trainer, and author. Andy Baker has decades of experience that we are going to tap into today for Children's Mental Health Week. He also has an absolutely brilliant podcast called Able to Care, which I highly recommend you listen to. Welcome, Andy. I'm so happy you're with us.
It's an absolute pleasure to be here, and thank you for having me.
Now, what I love about Andy's work, it's grounded, it's strong, it's really, really clear on how we can make steps forward. But his mission is actually about bringing more compassion, more effectiveness, and more humanity into everything we do, into the systems that we're in, whether it's a home system, a school system, a care system. So, Andy, I've got some juicy questions for you. Let's really dive straight into the core of it. So, through your work with children, families and schools, you've covered a lot of different areas over your profession. What have you discovered that truly makes the difference to a child's mental health?
So that's always multifaceted. I'll try and keep it succinct because I know time is against us. I do constantly work from when I started studying psychology. I remember learning about the biopsychosocial model, which is it's biological, psychological, and environmental factors all combined, and we can't ignore one because they all contribute. So I think the main bits that I find as far as factors affecting children's mental health, though, is one, emotionally available adults, I think is really important. So creating emotional intelligence. And the only way that children can develop emotional intelligence is by being around emotionally intelligent people, having people narrating on their emotions. And there's an instinct that, we might class it as common sense parenting, or a typical parenting is there's a lot of narration. Oh, who's a happy little boy? Somebody's very cross. We're constantly narrating on children's emotions. And I think that's really important. But the opportunity to be able to do that is lesser with parents having to work, being stressed, being affected themselves, more electronic time, all of these factors that narration maybe not be happening for as long. Children start school earlier than ever before. So I think what's really important is parents finding an opportunity. It doesn't need to be a big thing. A friend of mine told me the 10-minute rule of just 10 minutes in the evening, just all about connection and them, and about narrating their emotions and exploring that. So that's one part, is that highly emotionally intelligent, connective adults is one thing. One big thing that I am a big advocate for, and I find it very frustrating, that I believe that mastery builds self-esteem. I don't think being told you're great helps you to build self-esteem, because why should I believe that if I'm still going to compare myself? Humans are always going to compare themselves against others. That is the nature of, and under social media, we're comparing ourselves against perfection rather than reality. So we've got this constant kind of, we're always going to compare because we're social animals, and therefore, do I fit in with this tribe? If I'm not good enough within this tribe, I'm going to get rejected, and therefore I could die. So we're never going to get rid of that, because we're not going to get rid of our primitive base kind of biology, if you like. But I think there's this preconceived idea, and there's a bit of a pandemic that happened in society, which was children just to be told that they're wonderful, and that'll make them feel better. But children don't believe that, because there's no evidence for it, and children aren't stupid. So being given fluffy compliments for no reason, or, as I was speaking to a young person the other day, being told well done for doing something that everybody else in the classroom just seems to be able to do and doesn't get told well done for, doesn't make me feel good about myself. It actually points out that I'm weak. So I think there's this, I'm not a huge fan of just praise for the sake of praise. I think you should always be looking for intrinsic motivators. And I think children develop self-esteem through mastery. And again, young children, the mastery of standing up. We don't ever tell it's weird, isn't it? A child starts learning to stand. If they fall down, it's okay. I love you just the way you are. It's okay to be on the floor. Be you. I think we're going, come on, you can do it. You can do it. Let's get up. Let's do some more. And
Yes.
it's that pushing that actually is a balance between being highly nurturing, but also about being, but you need to be okay in this world. And I think the balance between the two is something that finding that balance is quite difficult in modern families generally. But I think I always use the example, and I hope I'm not overstepping time here.
Not at all. Keep going.
If you've got two parents, typically both parents will take either role. If you've got a single parent, they'll try and do both roles, but usually one takes the other. Let's say there I am, you got a child playing with, and I'm Paw Patrol kind of times. So Bluey's, I'm not with Bluey. You know, my younger children in my life are all kind of SpongeBob SquarePants and then Paw Patrol. So there you've got, a kid playing with Marshall, and Marshall is surrounded by dinosaurs. One parent will potentially go, those dinosaurs need to leave Marshall alone. They need to stay away. They need to be kind to him. And it's about the well-being of Marshall. The world should be okay for Marshall, and it's nurturing, and I will protect him. Whereas the other parent will often go, Marshall needs to stand up for those dinosaurs. He needs to bark at them and send them away. He needs to fight them, doesn't he? And actually, it's the two that are really important, having that balance of going, the world, you need to be nurtured. You should be safe in this world, but also the world is unsafe, and therefore you need to be able to deal with the world as it is. And I think society pushed us towards that one being, the world should be safe for you, and everybody should love you, and everything should be fair. No, everybody's a winner at sports day. It doesn't benefit because it doesn't build resilience. And I think that's where, for mental health, resilience of knowing that tough times are going to come, and it's about our ability to bend to the tough times rather than break is
brilliant. It's really generating that inner strength for coping skills.
Yes. I
really love that, because we do want to, what I'm hearing is also from a self-compassion perspective, we've got that tender side. Oh, this hurts. I didn't get picked for the team. And then the fierce self-compassion side that says, okay, then I will have trained harder because I really want this. And it's finding that balance. And every child is going to need a different cocktail, I think, of, and only the ones that are close to them will know that. And also the child themselves. I can give this to myself.
Yes.
And I am safe in maybe the need to ask for help, the ability to ask for help. That's I think, a big thing. But I really love that idea of mastery. Well, let's do it again. You couldn't get all the bricks up balanced first time. Let's do it again. Look at that. You got 3 more. You only got 2 that time. Let's do it again. And it's really powerful. The more we practice, like anything, when I'm working with younger people and children, at the moment, quite a few are footballers. And, my son's a football coach, and he couldn't do his keepy uppies. Kick, kick, drop, kick, kick, drop. But he stayed out there in the garden, kick, 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 drop, 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 drop. And I love that idea that actually we can build that sense of mastery, and that will build that really strong sense of, actually, I can do hard things.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. And as you said, with the keepy uppy, what's really important, and this is where adults are a big part of it, is it's not going, well, you're not good enough because you didn't do 10. It's all about, you did 1 yesterday, you did 2 today. That's amazing. So let's try for 3 tomorrow. And yeah, okay, that kid can do 10. But he's been practicing for longer, and he's maybe been working harder, or maybe he's got a natural talent. Hey, you may never be able to get to 10, but you may be able to get to 3. You may be able to get to 4, maybe able to get to 5. So let's just keep pushing. And it's not about how good they are. I think this is, I love dichotomous thinking. In the fact that I am good enough the way I am, but that doesn't mean I can't be better tomorrow. And I think people really struggle with that, is that if you have a fixed mindset, or you have this heavy level of an external locus of control, I need validation from others, or this is who I am. Parents need to be so mindful, like just saying, oh, she's so clumsy, she's so silly, she's always messing about. These little narratives that we take for granted, that we just think of flippant comments, go in, and they start to then define, well, I am clumsy. So guess what? They then perpetuate for their entire life, knocking things over because it's who they are. That's fixed. Whereas actually at any point going, hey, I could learn to be less clumsy. I could improve my balance. I could improve my coordination. There isn't a case, but it doesn't mean I'm not good enough as I am now. It just means that's an area
Yes.
that I can develop. I can do more. And I think there's a bit of and I do consider it to be negative in some ways. Not, it's weird, isn't it? It's that unconditional love. You are wonderful just the way you are. But I'd love it I'd love it if tomorrow you felt like you were a better you than you were today. And that's where that balance is between the two. There's some parents who focus on the you should be this, and there's other parents going, you don't need to be anything. And as you said, it's that balance, which is a challenge, for us and ourselves,
Yes.
towards anybody else.
Also, what I'm hearing is that, of course, if we do not inspire that inner strength and we do have that comparison mind that we know as humans we have it, then that critical voice can come in. And with that self-fulfilling prophecy, say, I'm such a clumsy klutz. I'm such a clumsy klutz.
Yes.
I'm so useless because I'm such a clumsy klutz. Mum's always told me I'm a clumsy klutz. I'm a clumsy klutz. Oh my gosh, I just spilt my drink again. See, I'm a clumsy klutz.
Cognitive
And
bias
then
comes in.
that,
Absolutely. Yeah. Becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy.
yeah, yeah. Brilliant. Oh my gosh. All right, let's go into the question 2. This is incredible. So we've sort of started touching on it, but if a parent is listening to this, watching this, and thinking, I just want to get this right, and we all do as parents, we don't want to fail our kids. We really, even in my experiences, even in the toughest of environments, parents do want to do good by their kids, pretty much on the whole. What small doable practices would you say matter most? Now, I know you've touched on some, but if we really hone in, maybe one thing, let's start with that. What one thing can really help so that we have our children's mental health forefront and growing them stronger?
I think there is 2. I maybe need to mention 2. One of them is quite quick and simple, and it's something that everybody plays lip service to, but nobody really takes seriously, and that is the nature of self-care, and personal boundaries, and not being a people pleaser, and working harder on yourself than you do on your parenting. Okay.
Oh, Andy. Okay.
I was thinking about this related to, we were chatting business beforehand and stuff, and that's something I've worked very hard on. I have worked harder on myself than I have on my business, because 80% of being a business owner is mindset. 80% of being a parent is mindset. Is being able to hold the boundary when the boundaries are tough, but being able to hold the compassion when you're tired. That's nothing to do with how good you are as a parent. It's all to do with your self-management, your emotional kind of a resilience yourself, and things like that, to be able to do that. So, and you can't, so there may be 3 answers to this.
I could do, keep going.
So I think that's one that I would say. People sort of recognize now, we talk about self-care and we put it in this box of go, yes, I know that's really important. But then when we actually go, well, how much energy on a day-to-day basis do you apply to that? It's like it's 0, 1, 2, 3, which means you're lying. You're lying to yourself. You're lying to other people. You're playing lip service to something you don't really believe. If I asked you how important food was, you'd say really important. If I said, well, how much energy you put into it? Well, I'll make sure I eat every day. So you believe that. But I think there's a common thing like exercise. It's a very similar thing in our headspace. It's until we experience the pain, it's hard to create the discipline. Until we experience so until I'm burnt out, I don't bother with self-care. And actually, it's a case of, well, self-care shouldn't be something you don't only go to the gym when you're already fat, because that makes it so much harder for you to do to then lose the weight at that point. If you maintain small habits over a period of time, you wouldn't reach that point you felt down about yourself in the same way. But there's so many people who go, if I can't go to the gym for an hour, there's no point in exercising. It's like, just do 3 press-ups. And the same with self-care. If I can't go for a walk, if I can't go for a spa treatment, then I can't.
Oh, yes.
But go for a walk with the dog, but change your mindset going, I'm not walking the dog because I have to. I'm walking the dog because that's 5 minutes I just get on my own, walking around the block, taking some fresh air, breathing, and just some peace and quiet. It's not about the action. It's about the mindset to the action. And there's a wonderful comedian that talks about like mindfulness being a thing now, whereas once upon a time it used to be called boredom. When you were on a train watching a drop of condensation go down the window for an hour. Now we call that, now people charge you for that and call it mindfulness. But it's all about the mindset. It's all about allowing yourself to be bored, allowing yourself to sit with your thoughts and feelings for a moment. So that's one, self-care.
And can I jump in there and say it's intention?
Yes.
And obviously I'm coming from a compassionate intention? Can I tend to this body, this mind, this heart of mine? Because I know when I do, I'm going to be a better parent. I'll be a better educator. I'll be a better social worker. I will be able to be steady and stay steady if I'm faced with challenges, which we are in that environment. Yes, absolutely. Thank you. I'll let you go back to the next point.
So the second one I think is fairly short and sweet, which is, and again, it's part of self-care and it's part of the parents being the best parents they can, which feels all counterintuitive to it's not giving you tools of how to manage the child, which we can do, but that's, again, takes longer. But as far as, I'm not a religious person, but I think one of the most beautiful things that I try and remind myself is what's called the Serenity Prayer. And the Serenity Prayer is grant me the courage to overcome the things that I can, or to overcome the things that I can change, to accept the things that I can't, and the wisdom to know the difference. And the Serenity Prayer, I think, if we remind ourselves of one thing a day, that should be the thing we do. To accept the things that we cannot change, to have the courage to change the things we can, but the wisdom to know the difference. You cannot make your children happy. However, you can make sure that you're providing a warm, nurturing and safe environment and providing them opportunities to be as happy as you can help them. You can't make your children have friends, but you can always make sure they know that you're there for them if they need to, and provide opportunities and maybe teach them skills to do it the best they can. So recognizing what you do and don't have control over is really important, because actually an awful lot of when we feel fear, when we feel anxiety, our instinct is to control that as human beings. We are the most controlling species there has ever been. I always refer to it like humans are controlling. You know, if I'm reading a book out in the garden and the wind blows and blows the pages, I don't just carry on reading it from where it was. I turn the pages back, go, no, environment and world, this is what I'm doing. And so that need to control, you know, we're in a building now that human beings controlled and manipulated substances and environment to create safety for us. So it helps us to feel safe. So when children are struggling, difficult, your instinct is to control. The instinct is, we just had an incident in our household where some bit of disruption had occurred, major emotional kind of upset, some real emotional challenges for one of the young people in our environment. The instinct was to go into like, well, maybe if we take that offer, then that'll help, or maybe if we do that, and the instinct was that need to control in that moment. But it was that reflection afterwards, that not making a decision when we were upset, recognizing we needed to respond, not react. And actually most of the things we were trying to put in place were coming from, we were needing or wanting to control the situation. Came from a place of love, came from a place of, well, it's usually from a place of fear over love. That's one of the things that tends to happen. And therefore the instinct was to control. And it was both of us sort of sitting back, reflecting and kind of going, right, none of that's going to benefit. This wasn't purposeful. This wasn't this. This isn't going to help. And what can we control and what we can't control? So I think that's really important. And that ties in with a principle that I've taught many people over the years, and it isn't an easy one to hear. You can't care more about their behavior than they do. Okay.
Oh, let's just let that sink in. Can you say it again?
You cannot care more about their behavior than they do. You cannot care more about their outcomes than they do, because they will let you. They will let you do all the worry. They'll let you do all the work, let you put in all the effort, and then still complain when it isn't right. And it's falling into, if you do transaction analysis, the victim, rescuer, persecutor kind of triangle, for instance. There's so many parents fall into the rescuer. I need to make it better. But then you end up just being a persecutor, the nag, the bully, the one that let them down, whatever it is. So it's about being a teacher, about being a mentor, about being a, you know, that nurturing guide, having high standards and you know, you need to overcome this, but at the same time but when you can't, I'm here for you and we'll be okay. So yeah, they're my... It's kind of 2, 3. I don't know.
Well, that's a brilliant one to leave us on, because that is talking about self-responsibility for the child, which I am a big advocate of. And it's really, really hard for the parent to have their self-responsibility to let them struggle, to let them experience what they're going through. Because I'm obviously a recovering rescuer.
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
we don't want our kids to suffer.
Can I finish off on one last point? Because I think
Please, yes.
So as I've been quite open about with yourself and others, and I'm on podcast, I've experienced significant mental health challenges in my lifetime before, been through some very, very difficult periods. And it was only when I learned a lot that I was able to then talk to my parents about what I needed. So I'm just going to tell you a brief story. And it was, I'd been through a tough time. My mum didn't find out until after I'd kind of maybe come out the other side of it a little bit. And she was a bit upset that I hadn't come and spoken to her about it. This is me as an adult, and that I hadn't come and spoken to her about it. And what I said to her was, and I didn't mean it in a harsh way, but it's actually improved our relationship with setting this boundary, or just helping her to understand. When something bad's happened, when like I've lost a job, or relationship breakdown or anything like that, then I know you'll always be there for me. But when I don't feel I have a good reason to feel low, when just life is feeling really hard, when I'm feeling overwhelmed, you want to solve it. You want to know what the problem is. You want to try and fix it. You want to try and make it better. And that actually makes me feel worse. It makes me feel guilty. It makes me feel ashamed, because there isn't a reason. I don't know the reason. I don't understand why this is so hard. And that actually makes me feel guilty. So it makes it worse. So therefore, I don't want to come and tell you. And from that conversation, the next time I went through a difficult time, she stopped trying to fix it. She stopped trying to control it. She stopped trying to make it better, as the instinct of any parent is. You just want to protect your children. But sometimes the way to protect them is to sit with them in their emotions, allow them to know that they are loved and okay. And when they feel ready, you'll help them in any way you can, but not try and fix it in the moment. And every partnership, every relationship, we've all had that situation where partners come up to you because you're upset and then giving you advice and solutions. And by the end of it, you're thinking, I'm not thick. I didn't need that. I just wanted to be listened to. So my key objective and phrase I encourage, and it's not original, I've stolen everything. Do you want a hug? Do you want to be heard? Or do you want help? Those three. Do you want a hug? Do you want to be heard? Or do you want help? And understanding that, whether you need to be a detective and figure it out, or whether you actually explicitly need to ask it. Because so many parents rush to the hug when actually that kid just wants to vent, or they rush to the hug when they need help. So hugging sometimes gives stop feeling this right now, and takes the child's permission away to feel and experience that emotion, because you're trying to take away the pain, but actually that's taking away their permission to feel an ability to overcome the pain with themselves. You're telling them to shut up by giving them a hug. And that's really hard for any parent, because you just want to take the pain away. I get it.
That's absolutely brilliant and so helpful to hear. I mean, in our self-compassion training, when we're in group work, we say, please don't hand anyone a tissue if they're crying. And this felt really harsh in my original training. I was like, oof. But I'd done quite a lot of work before then. I understood the premise, and it's very, very hard. It's interesting. Then the challenge is, okay, look at your response, because you're witnessing someone suffering and you want it to stop. Is it about them or is it about you? And this is obviously very, very deep work, and it's challenging when we've got our precious little ones that we really want the best for, but it's a great reminder. So ultimately, Andy, we're asking that adult in the room, whether they are a teacher, a parent, a foster carer, social worker, to really look at their own self-care, their steadiness, their centeredness, their responding, and then modeling, so that they can hold the space for that child when they are in crisis, and then offer them opportunity to lift them up and possibilities to see there is light, and which avenue would that child like to choose.
Yeah.
Andy, I really genuinely could talk to you for hours. I'm going to obviously have to start my own podcast so we can do a really long episode. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom. I'm going to have to listen to this one again and again. I really know this will be very valuable and a brilliant way to help anyone that is working to love, care and support their children. Thank you ever so much for your time.
My pleasure. Thank you very much, Kathryn.
Have you found this curious conversation helpful? The Inner Detective Journal might be just what you need. It's a gentle, powerful way to help young children build lifelong coping skills with kindness from within. Click the link to get your copy for your child, your class, maybe your entire organization if they've got children, so you can help them through the tough times. Let's keep listening and keep supporting children's mental health together.